Wonderful. Hello, everyone. So glad you're here with us for this very, very important event that's about to happen. Lisa Levinson and I, Judy Carmen, were the co-founders of the Interfaith Vegan Coalition. And we have something really special to share with you tonight. But first, I wanted to describe a little bit, just to get everybody kind of on board with the terminology. Homo Ahimsa, if you weren't in the last meeting, Homo Ahimsa is taken from my book of the same name. And the idea of that is that Ahimsa means non-harm in Sanskrit, also loving kindness, and it is the path to a vegan world and inner peace and world peace. So it is basically, Homo Ahimsa basically refers to who we are becoming and how we're going to save the world and create a vegan world. We have been Homo sapiens for a long time, and Homo sapiens has ruled the world with the idea, the worldview that we can dominate everything, everyone, whoever we want to get what we want. And so we have a lot of unlearning to do with ourselves, and in order to reveal our true nature, which is a loving creature that is here to make this a loving world. So basically, what we have done at Interfaith Vegan Coalition is and Lisa's going to talk a little bit more about what that is, what our coalition is all about. We have established what we're calling the Homo Ahimsa Award. And we did that 3 years ago. And this is the 3rd year of our Homo Ahimsa Award. And it is given to a person or to people who exemplify the traits of Homo Ahimsa rather than Homo sapiens. In other words, a leader who is leading us in the direction of loving kindness, nonviolence, non-harm, and showing us how to create a vegan world. So I was going to say something else, but I'm realizing now I'm going to say that a little bit later. So I'm going to turn this over to Lisa so she can explain a little bit more about the Interfaith Vegan Coalition and make a very important announcement. Lisa?
Thank you so much, Judy. Well, first of all, I'd just like to take a moment to introduce myself. I'm the campaigns director for In Defense of Animals. And also, as Judy mentioned earlier, I'm the co-founder of the Interfaith Vegan Coalition. And for those of you who don't know who we are yet, our coalition offers tools for faith-based vegan advocacy, including religion-specific advocacy kits that are available on our website, which is interfaithvegancoalition.org. And the coalition itself is composed of nearly 50 member organizations from around the world, and we meet quarterly. Many of these groups nominated and voted for the winners of the Homo Ahimsa Award that we're going to announce in a moment. So now it's my honor to share the recipients of our 2023 award. Hsiung and Priya Sawhney are co-founders of Direct Action Everywhere and the Simple Heart Initiative. And for just to give you a little bit more about this award, we actually honored both of them for their trailblazing right to rescue animals who are suffering or injured or in need of veterinary attention. Together, they created a precedent-setting campaign to gain public support for animal rescue, raise awareness about the political and legal repression of animal rescuers, and ultimately to establish the legal right to rescue animals from abuse in the agricultural industry, where it is common practice. So now I'm going to read. We'd like you to know, you may think you know a lot about these two individuals, but we're going to give you a little bit more information. I'm going to read Wayne's bio and then also share a little video that he gave to us, because unfortunately he's not able to join us today. And then Judy will have the honor of introducing Priya, who is with us today. So we're very, very excited that she could join us. So Wayne is a lawyer, a former faculty member at Northwestern School of Law, and co-founder of Direct Action Everywhere and the Simple Heart Initiative. He has led teams that have investigated and rescued animals from animal-abusing enterprises across the nation, challenging unconstitutional ag-gag laws in the process, and has organized successful campaigns to ban fur in San Francisco and California. As an attorney, he served as lead counsel in 2 right-to-rescue trials in which activists were acquitted after being charged for giving aid to sick and dying animals in factory farms, garnering media attention from the New York Times. Wayne's work has been covered by the Washington Post, Wired, ABC's Nightline, on the Ezra Klein Show as well. He has also been published research with Cass Sunstein on climate change's impact on animals in the University of Pennsylvania Law Review. Prior to his work as an animal advocate, Wayne practiced law at 2 national firms and studied law and economics at the University of Chicago, where he was an Olin Law and Economics Fellow, and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where he was awarded a National Science Foundation Graduate Fellowship. He is the proud parent of Oliver, who was rescued from the dog meat trade. So we wanted you to know a little bit more about these individuals who we're so proud of, who are the recipients of this award. So now, if you'll bear with me, I am going to take a moment here, and I'm going to share my screen. So let me make sure I'm in the right spot here, and then share a very brief acceptance speech from Wayne. So hold on just a moment. Fingers crossed for the technical part, and then we'll get that going. Okay. So without any further ado, you'll be able to hear from Wayne.
Everybody, it's Wayne here, and I am in Utah supporting my friend Curtis Vollmer, who unfortunately was just convicted for peacefully leafleting outside of a city park in Beaver County, Utah, about the horrors of factory farming and about the unjust prosecution of myself and Paul Picklesheimer, who were acquitted in a jury trial in October of 2022. Curtis faced charges of disorderly conduct and trespass merely for speaking out for the animals and for us. And we're going to appeal that court case. I think we're going to win on appeal, but it's so important that we get support from all of you. And that's why I'm so grateful for this award, the Ahimsa Award. Nonviolence is at the core of who I am. It's at the core of what we do at Direct Action Everywhere and at the Simple Heart Initiative, the new organization I founded. And I know it's at the core of what all of you do who care about animals. So I'm so grateful for the award. I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but I'm traveling in Utah to do more advocacy, investigations, trainings, all sorts of things are unfolding across the country. And I'm trying to support as much as I can. And unfortunately, this Sunday, I'm not actually able to join the award ceremony. But I am so grateful to In Defense of Animals, to all of you for the support. And stay tuned for more, because we're going to have more rescues, more trials, and more opportunities for all of you to make a difference for animals. All right. Thank you so much. And I will see all of you hopefully sometime soon, because I'm traveling all across the country in 2023. This is the year for the right to rescue.
So it's really quite a treat to hear from Wayne. And now we have a very special treat. Judy is going to introduce you to Priya, and we'll get to hear from her directly.
Yes, thanks, Lisa. Wow, that was so inspiring, that video from Wayne. So I have the great honor of introducing Priya Sawhney. She is the co-founder and director of fundraising at Direct Action Everywhere, and a factory farm investigator facing felony charges for exposing criminal animal cruelty at a California chicken farm. She's also a digital content and communication professional. She is passionate about bettering the world through community building and social impact for ethical organizations. In an article I found from berkeleyside.org, the title was about Priya, and it was called "The Berkeley Activist Who Puts Her Body on the Line to Fight Animal Cruelty." In the article, it says Priya Sawhney has been jailed 3 times, faces 8 felonies, and confronted Jeff Bezos in an effort to call attention to cruelty to animals. She's not done fighting, the article says. So I also wanted to mention that she is a Berkeley resident, one of the 4 elected leaders of the San Francisco Bay chapter of DXE. And she has broken into farms and slaughterhouses to rescue animals that are in unsafe conditions, which they all are. The organization also uses civil disobedience, direct action, and the courts, which is what they've been doing so well lately. And you just saw Wayne is still at it, and that's an ongoing thing, obviously, to fight for the rights of captive creatures intended for human consumption. So we are, my goodness, so honored. I want to read one thing that Sawhney sent to us. She said, "I am so honored to be receiving the Homo Ahimsa Award for animals. The most important thing we can do in our lifetime is to create more peace on the planet for the most sentient amongst us, and I'm glad to be able to have the opportunity to help rescue animals from the most horrific places on the planet. I'm grateful for this award." So Priya, thank you for joining us tonight. I know you are so busy, just like Wayne, and we just appreciate it so much. We're so grateful. But we'd love to hear from you. Maybe start by telling us what inspired you and Wayne to start DXE and Simple Heart.
Hi, I hope you all can hear me. Thank you so much for the really kind award and introduction. And yeah, over 10 years ago when we started Direct Action Everywhere, there was just, this something in the air is how I like to describe it, where I felt like people like me and Wayne and even ordinary people just coming together to say we need to do more to speak up for animals, especially with the rise of the humane myth, where we are now seeing even more and more greenwashing and now what we call humane washing. It was more, novel then when you would go inside of Whole Foods and see signs on top of the meat department that were just infuriating, saying animal compassion over the dead bodies of, animals. And that just, lit a fire inside me. And I just wanted to connect with people who were like-minded and say we need to change social norms and disrupt society at large to take animal rights as a serious social justice movement. And that is, that's what inspires me, and it still does to this day. And the idea of creating compassion and bringing compassion to everybody around us is something that I hold deep and dear to my heart. Like all of you over here, it's really lovely to hear all the about all the work that you all are doing, spreading, the word of compassion and veganism and animal rights. And I'm really, really grateful. I feel like I need to be stepping up and doing more because the animals need us every second, and they need so much because they have given so much to us. Now I'm not, I know you said I'm an elected leader of I used to be an elected leader of the San Francisco Bay Area chapter. But even though I'm still very involved doing fundraising in DXC, and I'm facing felony charges for our upcoming court case, what I'm doing now is I do take care of dogs. And even though that's my work, me and my partner, what we do is we talk to everybody when we're out walking dogs, and one of our dogs was rescued from a animal experimentation lab. So we bring stories of rescue to the people who want to talk to our dogs. And I really think dogs are a gateway to animal liberation, because when ordinary people who sadly eat animals, when they look into the eyes of dogs, they have an understanding, and they can see the bridge between how these animals feel pain and love and joy. They can understand that there's other animals who feel the same. So yeah, sorry I ranted, but I just wanted to tie it all together by saying I really appreciate getting this award. I feel very supported going into this court case that's coming up, and I feel very confident that we're going to continue winning for the animals, especially since we just won 2 court cases, and hopefully it'll just be common knowledge that animal rescuers should not be punished, but even more importantly, that all of us should be rescuing animals and bringing compassion from courthouses to every street corner.
Yes, Priya, it's got to raise tremendous awareness, I think, for these court cases. And you've really managed to set precedents, superly important precedents that could help activists way into the future. And I love what you said about dogs, because I believe that too. I think they are messengers, and they are trying to get it across to human beings who love them and put little costumes on them and little hats and everything else, to see that all animals have the same sentience and love and everything else. So I love what you're doing with the dogs. That's a great way to get conversation started. So tell us a little bit about how you see ahimsa within your work. Obviously, you're demonstrating non-harm with everything you do.
Yeah, I think ahimsa is I try to make that a part of my life and our life's work, which is everywhere we go, sadly we live in a society where we're surrounded by violence, whether it's the bodies of animals or even other forms of violence against humans and non-humans. And I think for me, being nonviolent is actually speaking out, is taking action, because when we're not in a neutral space, we're in a space where most people are consuming animals or think it's okay to eat animals. The law considers animals property. So being nonviolent, I think, is having the courage to say what's true, which I think is something that I try to do when I am, whether it's speaking to people or at a protest or even sitting, in court, in any place, just bringing that presence and hopefully inspiring others with it.
I love that. It is a presence, isn't it? The presence of ahimsa that you bring with you. And like you said, even in court, you're demonstrating that that this is how to live. Without living this way, we're just going to keep going down the same road. And so you're such a great teacher and demonstrator of ahimsa. So thank you so much for doing that. So would you like to talk at all about the trials that you won, or tell us how we can help with the one that's coming up?
Yeah, I think the two recent cases with Smithfield and Foster Farms are just exemplary of how actually Wayne, he recently talked, if anybody's interested, he did a live stream talking about how for the most part, when people aren't really, if you try to show them what's happening to animals, or even, hey, look inside these places, we have video footage. I'm sure we've all heard when we've tried to show our friends, family, or random strangers, oh, I don't want to see that. I already know what's happening. I don't want to see that. Yet they continue, to in some way or other engage in consuming animals, or being part of this speciesist culture or system. But when you have when a jury of people are, sort of forced to look at this footage, they don't have a choice, because now they're sitting inside of court and they're actually asked to look at things objectively. They examine it, they study it, and then they are kind of it's not even forced, but they kind of come to the conclusion like, oh, rescuing animals is not a crime. And it's because they have given their full attention to it in a way that they're being asked to be objective. So I think that's really fascinating, that when you have people, even in the society where animals are considered property, probably most of these people are eating animals, but when they're asked to look at it objectively, they come to the conclusion that animal rights activists have known for a long time. And a lot of these people, I just saw an amazing video that was just posted from the trial summit from Foster Farms, where one of the jurors said, just want to let you all know, I don't eat chicken anymore as a result of this trial, and probably is going to go on to be vegan soon. And, she's was really passionate about how, animal rescuers should not be criminalized. And even went as far as to say, I just kept imagining, what if I rescued that chicken? Would they throw me in prison? And that's just really powerful to see these jurors say that. So it's really gives me a lot of hope for the upcoming trial, because it kind of shows that when people are actually consuming this information and looking at this footage and seeing what's actually going on, they're going to come to the right conclusion, because the truth is there. And as the saying goes, the writing is on the wall.
Yeah, and that's, go ahead. No,
and
go ahead.
As far as how people can help, I think you all are already, doing really great work, talking about nonviolence, ahimsa, talking about, spreading these messages. I think Wayne mentioned it, but the legal right to rescue, there's a petition. And, when I try to go out and talk to people, I always encourage them to sign the petition. It is, it is kind of it's a small ask, but it also is in many ways, there's a lot of evidence that when people sign their name onto something, they kind of remember. I mean, these people can end up being jurors, oh, hey, I remember I signed that petition to support animal rescue. So it's a easy and simple thing to do anywhere you go. Just ask people to sign the petition.
Okay. So, and is that something that we can find online and print off?
I think, yeah, it's on righttorescue.com.
Okay, great. Something you said about that juror, that was, wow, so amazing. And it kind of tells us that really the ahimsa is our true nature. It's just been covered up by cultural traditions and belief systems that just don't work for this world. And so the truth is in every person, that this is wrong for animals to be treated this way. And so that's a hard way to get the point across to them by being in a trial. But wow, that was that was powerful for that person. Yeah. Thanks. Lisa,
Yeah.
have you got any questions that you wanted to ask Priya?
Well, actually, I think we wanted to see if anyone who's joining in right now may have some questions. If you'd like to.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah.
You can either type them into the chat box, or if you'd like to unmute yourself with a question or a comment. There's a lot of wonderful supportive comments right now in the chat box. Just congratulating you, Priya, and also remarking on how incredible you are and the work that you've done.
Yeah, I'm looking at the comments. Thank you all so much. And I know somebody asked if they can see the trial summit. I think you can see the short video clip that was posted. And I think there might be more video footage coming out, but I can maybe get that to you, Lisa. If I can just find out if that's something that's going to be posted.
Okay, sure. And it looks like someone's asking if you could say a little bit more about the media coverage of the victories.
Yeah, I mean, especially from the Smithfield trial, there has been like, incredible coverage. And one of the most notable things that across, whether it was New York Times or all these other mainstream outlets, was just the idea of open rescue becoming more normalized. Like, obviously 10 years ago, people did not understand what open rescue was. And even now, it's not as common as we want it to be, but the fact that it's becoming, at this point, becoming a very, animal rescue is becoming so just more prominent in, in news outlets like the New York Times. People are understanding more and more. And if you like talk to them, and most people have a general idea, like, oh yeah, we know that there's people out there doing these things. They're animal rescuers, and they have an understanding that, these people are facing charges, and there's a lot of support too. So I think all in all, it's positive in the fact that it's helping people. The media is kind of a reflection of how far society is coming as far as understanding the animal rights issue and taking it more seriously.
Thank you for addressing that, Priya. Another question here is if you don't mind, sharing about the time that you used ahimsa to rescue a woman.
You were walking down the street and you heard some commotion down the stairs. Do you remember the man and the woman that were fighting? Or maybe I should tell the story. Do you remember it? Okay, let me tell you what I remember you saying. You knew that it was right for us to stand in front of an animal being harmed. And you were walking down the street and you heard a man and a woman. The man was beating the woman. And you went up and stood between them. And do you remember that?
When was this?
I don't know. It's been before COVID, so it's been a couple of years.
Wow. I mean, I can imagine myself doing that, but sometimes my memory is not the best, so I apologize for that.
No, it's okay. It was powerful to me, and you were telling us about what happened, and I've always remembered that
Oh,
you have to believe it, that it's okay to step in front, and you were very peaceful, and he stopped hitting her.
wow. That's incredible that I don't remember, but I'm getting vague like flashbacks, and I'm sorry, I actually have like a memory issue sometimes. I think just sometimes I like block certain things out, so I'm sorry if I don't recall that, but I can see myself doing that. Although that sounds really intense, and hopefully I know if that ever happens in front of me, I would definitely do the same thing now.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that story and how ahimsa, it's such a universal concept to really help. people and animals.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, you know, there's instances of violence against humans and non-humans happening all around us. And to me, like I said before, stepping in and taking action is exemplary of ahimsa.
Yes. And there's another question, comment says, putting yourself out there with an open rescue and going to trial requires deep courage, resilience, and integrity. Quite a lot of it. So this person's also checking in. It's Dee Dee, and she's asking, are you doing okay? Are you receiving the support you need?
Sorry about that. I think I might have accidentally pressed the mute button. I feel really good about my court case. I feel very supported, and I think, I know this sounds kind of like absurd, but I think life, to me, like a daily basis, life seems a little, for me, it seems to like require a lot more courage out of me than going inside of factory farms and slaughterhouses. I really feel like, obviously, since I am facing trial, I haven't been, doing as much rescue work because, we want to make sure that we're not putting other defendants in harm's way. But I actually miss going inside of factory farms and slaughterhouses. And I know when I get the chance again, go back out there, I certainly will, because to me, it feels so aligned with my life's purpose. And it gives me so much joy to be able to use my freedom in that way. So I feel really blessed to have that courage. So I feel great. And I think the places that I get my courage from are obviously the animals that surround us, the dogs that I'm with all the time. They're actually in the car right now. They just give me so much hope, and it also show you what animals are capable of once they're not, in places where they're going to be harmed. Like, for example, Oliver, our dog, was rescued from a dog meat farm. Our other dog, he was rescued from an animal experimentation lab. They were very, very scared in the beginning, and now they're so confident and they're so happy. And to be able to see that gives me a lot of courage, because I know that our work is trying to bring that to all animals.
Yes, that is truly amazing. There's another question here just asking about your vegan journey. I don't know if that's something you remember, but you're welcome to share that.
Yes, I actually I started like trying to be vegetarian when I was 8 years old. My family's from Punjab. We're supposed to be vegetarian, but my family did eat animals. They thankfully have stopped eating animals now. But when I was in India, I didn't, nobody told me. It was just kind of like something that I don't know how I had this like inner knowing as a child, but I just knew that it was wrong to eat animals. And I didn't become vegan until somebody just asked me. And I was like, wow, I wish somebody had asked me sooner. They said, why aren't you vegan yet? You seem to care so much about animals. And I said, in my head, I was like, nobody had asked me. So I went home and I just threw out all my animal products. And I told my mom I'm not going to eat any animal products anymore, or any animals. And I watched Earthlings, and I went to a protest the next day. And like they say, everything from then on, it was just history. It was like, all right, this is a new era of just speaking up and creating a life of compassion all around me. And I'm so grateful for that.
Wow, that's a beautiful, beautiful story, and speaks to your character. Also, one of the questions is, how then did you get from there to founding DXE?
So yeah, I mean, I was just looking for, I started a little group on Facebook called Bay Area Animal Rights Protests. A few of us would go out and hold signs and protests every week. And then just came across Wayne, and Wayne, and a few other people were in his old Palo Alto apartment, just talking about how we want to do open rescue, how we want to fight the humane myth, how we want to, build a community for of people who are also speaking truth to power and bringing animal rescue, the message of animal rescue and animal liberation to the world. So, yeah, and then we found a community house. We started organizing. We started doing weekly protests, weekly community events, and building community and creating this vision of the beloved community to and bringing it to the world. And I saw the question. Yes, I will be at ALC this year.
Great. Well, you certainly brought something major to the world, something that's transforming the animal rights movement as we've known it. So thank you so much. This is
Thank you all.
Truly amazing. There may be a few other questions. One is, how would you, the signatures that you requested, how do they help you achieve the goal of rescuing animals?
Well, I think one thing that it does is just on a very basic level, even though to us it might not mean a lot. I know, for example, there are people who are looking at these websites, including the FBI, and they're like, wow, there's growing support for these people. Look at thousands of signatures they've gotten, so imagine if we had that much more. I just think that's a good example of, wow, there's a lot of people out here who support animal rescue. So I think and then also it helps keep people plugged in. I like to connect with people and tell them about the right to rescue, and just tell them hey, if you have any questions, I'd love to talk to you. And hopefully they can just see themselves as part of a larger part of this mission to help rescue animals.
Great. That's helpful to know, because I think sometimes people wonder, why am I signing this petition? What's going to become of it? So it does have a really lasting impact.
Yeah, and obviously it's a small thing that everybody could do, but if there's more other things that people want to do to help, obviously coming to the Animal Liberation Conference would be great, and getting trained in animal rescue would be even greater. So and there's so many parts to that. It doesn't mean that you have to go and do open rescue yourself if you're not in that space, but even learning how to be a part of getting the word out to the media, doing media releases, or telling stories, doing video editing. There's so many ways in which we can contribute to this larger goal.
Yes, I was at the Animal Liberation Conference a few years ago, and I remember just how organized it was. I thought, wow, this is so organized. Each person had a certain job, and they knew exactly what to do and what not to do, and who to talk to and who not to talk to. So I think that's really a credit to DXE and to all the work that you've done.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think I'm looking to see if there's any other questions. There are so many wonderful comments here that are very supportive, and sounds like people are interested in attending ALC this year, which is really, really exciting. One person says, Deb says that thank you, Priya, for being a courageous and compassionate leader and role model in this movement. So we just want to let you know how much we deeply appreciate you, your work, and all of these amazing projects and organizations and initiatives that you've helped to found. It's really motivating.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for the work that you're doing, and for even having this award, and for just for coming together and bringing Ahimsa to the world.
Yes. Well, I guess we're all working together on this, trying to raise the vibration of the planet to be more compassionate and kind to all living beings. So Priya, do you have anything that you would like to share with us? Something that either is on your heart, or a message that you'd like to share with the group today?
One of the things that I've realized recently is that like activism is something that we do by just embodying our spirit and world. A lot of times we get down on ourselves because we think like, well, I have a full-time job, or whatever it is that's going on in your life, and I can't do X, Y, and Z. I think we forget that our presence itself is changing the universe. I love this idea of I don't know what book I was listening to, but it was talking about how in a small village in India, even if 1% of the people start doing meditation, it reduces the crime rate and violence in that village. And it just made me think that us embodying nonviolence and peace and talking to others is actually actively creating that change that we want to see in the world. And to not think, well, and I love the idea of institutional change, but there is something to be said about talking to people one-on-one and inspiring them, because you never know how they're going to change. And I highly doubt that those conversations are going wasted. So I think every moment that we can embody that spirit is very helpful. So just being out there with our values and talking to other people about it and helping them to, like as I like to say, escape the matrix and come to the other side where there's love and peace and compassion.
Nice. That's a beautiful vision.
Thank you.
And there is another question here, and this one is about a book. Are you planning to write a book on your activism?
I am not, but maybe I should.
Just a thought, because you certainly have enough material for a very compelling memoir.
Yeah, I'm actually, I do love writing. I like writing poetry, so maybe I'll have a poetry book, and a lot of it is about animal liberation and creating a world that we want to live in, righting the wrongs of our society.
Yeah, poetry is very powerful, and also it's a great tool for education. I know many of us remember Silverstein, I think was his name, and he wrote some poems that were really like food for thought that included some concepts that had to do with animals. And so those books are really powerful and sometimes helpful for children, depending on what kind of poetry it is. Yeah.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Please go ahead, Jean.
Well, one thing I was thinking, Priya, about your book, besides poetry, would be your experiences with Open Rescue. And but you were saying that you might have classes in how to do Open Rescue. Is that going to happen at the conference?
Yeah, there will be an Open Rescue training at the conference.
So what would that be like for someone that here is listening in today? Like, how could they figure out if they could do it?
I think just by taking the training, it doesn't mean that you need to actually go out and do Open Rescue, but just getting the training, you'll have a much better understanding of what Open Rescue is and how you can be a part of it, even if you're at the point in your life where you're thinking, well, maybe I don't want to go inside. Maybe I don't need to be the person who's going inside. There's so many other roles that people can play. And so everything helps, whether it's animal care, taking care of animals, right? Telling stories, doing the after, the work of video editing. There's all of it is Open Rescue, is how we like to see it. So I would say, even if you're just thinking about it, go and take the training, because it'll help you get a better understanding of Open Rescue. And you might realize like, wow, there is a role for me in here.
Well, is there something online in case they can't go to the conference and take the class?
Unfortunately, I don't believe that there is we don't put the training online. It happens like in person, but there's I think there's trainings happening all the time, and I know Wayne himself has done several this year and is planning on doing more.
Okay, that's great. So if you can't make it to the conference, you could find something. Yeah. Because the more Open Rescues there are, the better, but I'm sure there's a lot to learn.
Yes.
Before you just jump in.
Yes.
and just emotionally, how to cope with it. If
Yeah.
you're one of the ones that are going in,
Oh yeah.
sure, it has a huge emotional impact.
Yeah, and somebody said, yes, DXC has numerous online training sessions in different areas of rescue. Yeah, so a lot of the stuff, you're right, Deb, you can find online, just not the entire open rescue training.
Yeah, so that's something exciting for those people who are thinking of going, and maybe taking a training later this year. It will empower people to know how they could be involved personally, whether they're the one going in to actually pick up the animals, or if they're standing around the outside with roses, or however it's organized for that day. And also, as Priya was mentioning, even the follow-up after with video editing, there's just so much involved. It's a big production, but it's definitely worth it because it is changing hearts and minds, and that's what we're seeing. And that's one of the reasons we're so thrilled to give out this award this year. And to you, and also to Wayne. And just wanted to mention a comment that Christina shared, which is that she's so glad we're doing this type of recognition because it adds credibility and seriousness to our cause and gives credit where credit is due.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So we're thrilled about this. And this is our third award that we've given out. And previous awards have gone to Philip Wolin, who's the philanthropist who's devoted a lot of his funds and his life to helping animals, and also to Dr. Sailesh Rao and his granddaughter, Kimaya. And we know all of the work that Sailesh is doing, including putting together VCOP and so many other projects. So you are standing in a place with many others who so many of us admire in the movement. And it's very fitting that, especially with all the trials coming through this year, that your names were really our top nomination. So we're just so excited about this.
Thank you so much again, and I'm very honored.
Yay. Well, this may conclude our ceremony, our award ceremony. And I know that we have maybe a little bit of program coming up, and I think there's a closing. So Sailesh might give us some guidance on the next steps.